Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Pyros Projects. This weekend we're going to get started on actually cutting out the top of that tank and getting it set up to hold the pan in place so that we can boil off the sap. I believe I showed you last weekend where I had to remark the lines to make it level, and I also drew in the circle where I'm going to cut it out for the flue. Just to cover my bases, because I can't remember if I did or not, I'll re-show you that. That way we're all on the same page and everything. So hang on one second. I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you what's going on. All right. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it last video, but I can't remember because I've slept since then. But after I, installed the base, I got it level on this floor because apparently this concrete slab's not level. So I got everything level side to side and end to end. And then I checked my lines that I had drawn on the side of the tank, and they were not level. So I went through and redrew everything, erased the old lines, redrew it, went across the front and across the other side so everything's nice and square and level. And like I said, I did go ahead and draw the 6-inch circle up here for the flue exhaust or whatever you want to call it, so that we can put a chimney stack and get it out above the sugar shack that my buddy's planning on building. So this week I'll go ahead and I'll get this top piece cut out. And at some point I've got to measure this front out and get it cut for the firebox door, which I did give him the option of a solid door or the glass door, and he decided to go with the glass door. So I'll pause the video, I'll grab that real quick, and I'll just kind of set it on the floor here in front. It'll be up a little higher, but you'll get the idea of where it's going to be. So hold on one second, and I'll grab that and show you. Okay, actually went ahead and stuck it up on top of a 5-gallon bucket because it's going to be really close to where that door is going to sit. So that's what that door is going to look like. That'll be add wood in for the actual fire. I think it'll look really sharp. What I am going to do before I install it is I'm actually going to put a flat edge and recut these so they're real nice and crisp. And because like you can see on this edge, it's a little jagged, a little rough. So I'll get those all straightened up, cleaned up, so that door can install right there in the front. Now I did double check. This glass is quite a bit thicker than like my pellet stove doors, or even the piece of glass I bought for my truck rim stove. So being it's thicker, it's going to be a little bit closer to the fire. I think it'll be okay. Worst case scenario, if I have to, I do have the solid door that if this glass does crack, I can put the solid door in there instead. But as thick as this glass is, I think it'll be all right. But that's what that'll look like. That'll give them the place to load the wood in, get it good and hot, so we can boil maple syrup. So I'll get to cutting this top off, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a little while. Hey everybody, it's another day, and we're going to get to work here in a minute, but I realized that I made kind of a goof up. I was an idiot. I'm going to flip the camera around, I'll show you what I did and what I'm going to have to do to fix my problem. Otherwise, I'm kind of in a stuck spot, I guess. All right, so previously, maybe it was a day or 3 ago, I don't remember what day it was now because it's all a blur, but I went ahead and put this front plate onto the heat riser, the flue adapter, whatever you want to call it, because obviously the flue is going to go up here. But I tacked this all in and then realized that I need to be able to get into that back corner so that when I put the plate that covers this open, I can get it welded to the back wall. Well, I'm not going to be able to do that through 4 or 5 inches when it's almost 14 inches back. So I'm going to have to cut all of these tack welds, take the plate out so I can plate the bottom. Then I got to put this back in and carry on. So let me get that pulled out, and I'll show you the process of putting the plate in for the bottom piece, and we'll go from there. Okay, everybody, here's where I'm at. I did manage to get that archway piece cut out, the front face. And I've got this plate all cut and ready to weld in. I ended up taking a piece of that 1/2 inch by 1 inch rectangle tube, and I welded it at one end and pulled it down to the other end to weld it. I cut the piece and stomped on it quite a bit on the concrete floor down here to get it as flat as I could, but it still had a little bit of a curve to it. So I used that to help break the curve out of it. And I thought about putting another one in, but I've got it flat enough that I can get it welded in and make it nice and solid. I am going to just go ahead and leave that bar there. It's just a bit of a structure thing. I don't think it'll matter too much. So I'll go ahead and get this plate welded in, and then I've got to work on cutting and fitting this next plate that fits down here. So I'll get to working on those, and we'll catch you up in just a little while. All right, another update. I already said I got that panel put in. Now I've got this 45-degree angle panel put in. I did not do welds all the way up the seams like I was originally planning. I'm actually going to use some red high temperature RTV to seal that in, because this piece and this piece and then these sidewalls is all going to get insulated with ceramic fire blanket. So I figure if I just caulk that in with that red high temperature sealant and then stack in that insulation, I don't think it'll matter too much, because heat will never get that far down in there, and it should not affect the overall efficiency of this arch. Also got this panel, which belongs up in here, ready to go back in. I did cut it a little bit shorter because it's stuck down below this corner about 1 inch, and I needed it level with these edges. And so I went ahead and cut it, and then I put in this brace, which will be the back edge for the evaporator pan to sit on. Once I get it in here, it'll make a little bit more sense of where it's going to be and what it's going to do. So I'll fight through getting that put back in and tacked back into place, and show you what I'm talking about with this lip down here. Okay, this front plate for the heat riser, I've got that put in. And I was saying earlier about this being more level with this than sticking all the way down in the bottom. When I put the side caps on that will actually hold the pan, they'll overlap onto here on each side. You can see over there in the far corner. They'll overlap this plate, and that way I can seal it off. And then when I put the gasket material on to seal the pan to these side brackets, it should seal everything up real nice. So I'm going to get started on cutting those angles for the side plates and get them welded in, or at least tacked in for now, because I'm going to probably end up having to adjust them and make a few changes here and there. We'll see what happens and go from there. So I'll catch you folks up in a little bit. All right, quick update, and then I'm actually going to be pulling the plug for today because I got to get ready for the new work week. So I got the angle iron put together all the way around. This is kind of, let's back up, and it's what it looks like right now. What I'm going to do is probably take this piece of block that I have here. This is 2 inch by 3 inch. And then I'm going to go along here with the clamp and pull it together to weld this to the body. I'm just going to tack it along the outside, do like 1 inch stitch welds every couple inches. And then I'm going to lay it on the whole thing on its side or stand it on its end. And I'm actually going to fully weld along the inside up under this lip to seal the box. Then I think you can just see the white line here. This white line I drew on each side. That's the 24-inch spacing of the pan, which only gives me about a 1/2 inch to set the pan on the edge. I'm not real comfortable with that, so I might try and come up with something that I can maybe stretch from one side to the other, from this side to that side, and do like maybe 2 or 3 of them to support the pan in the middle. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I have some pieces of flat strap floating around here somewhere that I could use. So that's what she looks like right now. And next video, I'll get to actually welding these to the sides. I'll get some straps put in. And then I think I'll probably start cutting out the hole for the fire door so that we can start actually building the grate and whatnot to put the fire on down in there. And then I'm going to try and come up with something I can use as a temporary lid to cover this so that I can actually light a fire and burn everything off and get it clean so that when we actually go to use it for maple syrup, I don't have to worry about any of like the residue or any of that trash down in the bottom affecting the fire or the flavor of the maple syrup. So I'm going to do a real good hot burn through it, get everything burned off, and then I'll get it ready for insulation and the fire bricks in the bottom. So that's where we're at right now. Thanks for watching, everybody, and don't forget to subscribe.